Beneath the copper-streaked sky of the wild plains, a lone rider sat hunched by a dwindling fire, his hat brim shadowing the hollow of his eyes. The world had grown vast and empty for Koana, a cowboy whose 30 years seemed twice that number when measured in silence. The cicadas sang their thin song in the sagebrush, and the night pressed close, heavy with the scent of dust and pine resin. He chewed a strip of dry jerky, but the taste meant nothing. It had been years since flavor felt like more than survival. The fire snapped, and his horse pawed at the ground as if restless with the weight of his loneliness. Then came the sound, faint, deliberate, human. Footsteps, soft yet steady, like a heartbeat daring to interrupt his solitude. Out of the darkness stepped a figure, half shadow and half light, hesitant yet unafraid. She was young, no more than 20, though the dust and hardship clinging to her frame aged her eyes beyond their years. Her hair fell unkempt about her shoulders, carrying the faint perfume of wood smoke. Kohana's hand moved to the rifle resting near his boots, suspicion and old instinct carved into him by scars both seen and unseen. Yet when the stranger's lips parted, it was not threat that fell from them but a whisper so fragile it trembled against the crackling air. "I ain't worth much, sir, but I can cook." For a moment, the cowboy said nothing, the weight of her words sinking into him like rain on dry earth. Why such a confession? Why the tremor of shame mixed with resolve? He studied her, wary yet curious, as if her presence might dissolve if he looked too hard. She stood still, bare hands trembling at her sides, but her chin was lifted in a quiet defiance that spoke of 1,000 rejections endured. He wondered, what kind of road brings a soul so young to offer herself not with beauty or laughter, but with usefulness alone? He gestured toward the small tin pan lying near the fire. "If you can cook with that," he muttered, his voice a graveled whisper of suspicion and invitation, "then sit." She obeyed with a grace that surprised him, lowering herself near the fire as though she had rehearsed this very moment on lonely roads. From a satchel slung across her shoulder she drew scraps, a handful of herbs, roots, something dried and wrapped in cloth. Her movements were careful, precise, born of practice and need. As she worked, the smell of something more than survival began to rise, earthy, warm, strangely comforting. Koana watched her with narrowed eyes, not out of distrust now, but fascination. How did a girl with nothing manage to conjure something resembling home in a pan no larger than his palm? When the stew was ready, she handed him the first tin cup, her eyes lowered as though expecting him to refuse. He hesitated, then tasted. The warmth filled his mouth, plain but alive, richer than anything he had eaten in weeks. Shame washed over him, for gripping the rifle, for doubting her intentions, for forgetting the dignity hunger cannot kill. They ate in silence, the fire painting their faces in flickering light, but silence between two souls is rarely empty. Beneath it, secrets pressed, waiting to rise. It was she who broke first. Her voice cracked not from fear, but from the exhaustion of carrying her story alone. She spoke of a family lost when land was claimed by others, of wandering roads where neither the settlers nor her people welcomed her. "They call me half this, half that," she murmured, eyes fixed on the stew. "But never whole." Koana did not answer at once. The ache in her words mirrored a wound he carried like a stone in his chest. He remembered nights in town where men called him ghost, mocked his silence, dismissed him as a shadow of a man. He remembered the sharp laugh of a woman who had once kissed him only to spit after, declaring him too poor, too quiet, too nothing. Loneliness had become his trade, his name carved into the dust where no one cared to read it. Listening to Talisa, he had not yet spoken her name but felt it rising unbidden. He realized her exile mirrored his own. Two souls disowned in different languages, yet sharing the same barren road. The night grew colder, the fire shrinking, but neither moved. Their eyes met across the space where words had failed them, not with passion, not yet, but with recognition. It was not the warmth of desire but the startled quiet of two wanderers discovering they were no longer invisible. And yet, as the stars deepened above, he wondered, was this moment a pause in loneliness, or the beginning of something neither dared name? When dawn stretched its pale fingers across the plain, they rode together toward the town. The air was thick with dust and the murmur of judgment long before they crossed its wooden gates. The townsfolk turned, whispers snaking through the morning air. A cowboy with a stray girl at his side, their eyes narrowed, their mouths curled. At the general store, the shopkeeper refused their coin, muttering about who belonged and who did not. Kohana's fists clenched, but he swallowed the urge to strike. Violence would only deepen the wound. Beside him, Talisa lowered her gaze, practiced in enduring insults that had chased her from hearth to hearth. He wanted to speak, to defend, but the words lodged like stones in his throat. They left empty-handed, the weight of rejection trailing them like dust. The sky darkened as they rode out, thunder rolling low across the horizon. The storm came swift, rain lashing their faces, soaking them through. They stumbled upon an abandoned barn and rushed inside, shivering, the air alive with the sharp scent of wet hay. Talisa knelt by damp wood, coaxing flame where no flame wished to live. She persisted, breath steady, and at last a spark bloomed into fire. Koana watched her, his chest tight, not from the storm, but from the quiet resilience she carried like armor. She shed her soaked shawl, and he, fumbling with awkward care, spread it near the fire. Their eyes lingered in the flicker, the barn walls glowing with each flash of lightning. The silence returned, thick as the rain on the roof, yet no longer empty. Koana felt it pressing against his ribs, a confession begging to be born. But it was she who spoke first, her voice trembling yet fierce. "I ain't worth much, sir, but I can cook. I can make a home, even if the world don't want me." Her words struck him harder than any storm. All his life, he had feared needing someone, had built walls of silence and dust around himself. Now here was a woman offering not romance, not promises, but the simple gift of belonging, the chance to turn loneliness into something shared. He swallowed hard, and for the first time, let his guard slip. "I've been afraid," he admitted, each word dragged out like a stone. "Afraid I'd never find a place to rest. Afraid of wanting more." The barn grew still. He reached out, his calloused hand covering hers, a gesture small yet vast. No declarations, no fire of sudden love, only the quiet merging of two broken halves daring to believe in wholeness. Outside, thunder rolled away, leaving the rhythm of rain to echo the steadiness of their hearts. Months later, the fire burned again, though no longer small or lonely. The camp smelled of stew rich with herbs, of leather mended with care. Talisa's laughter, soft and surprised, rose like birdsong, and Koana, bent over a saddle, lifted his head with a smile that felt new upon his face. They had married without witness, without grandeur, only the earth and sky to bless them. The rejection of towns, the scars of exile, they remained, but no longer defined them. For in each other's eyes, they had found not what the world measured as worth, but what the soul knew as enough. Perhaps you too have felt unworthy, cast aside by hands that could not see your quiet strength. Remember this, then, sometimes all it takes is a fire shared, a meal offered, a hand laid gently over another, to discover the home you have been searching for all along. The plains will whisper, the stars will turn, but within the small circle of warmth, two hearts can rewrite what it means to belong.